saw this deck. We saw Dan play
We saw
a round
Dan-
or two ago.
Dan, I believe, was playing against Rug.
Against Rug, yeah. He pulled
And
that
he
miracle.
pulled that miracle
Multi-4 win.
Multi-4 with a Helm of Obedience win, and rest in peace. So again, rest in peace. Not as great in this matchup.
Very true.
So
Joe's playing the exact same main deck as we just saw with Anthony Eason, card for card it looks like, with the exception of exact same 60 main deck cards. His sideboard a little different, and obviously the matchup being very different.
yeah. And Joe is up a game, but it looks like he's down to a mulligan to 6. With Dan is fine with his 7 cards. And generally, how did this matchup play? You have basically Esper Stoneblade can be a control deck, but it can be sort of an aggressor with the Stoneforge sometimes.
Sort of needs to here. It depends on what tools you have available to yourself. Like,
it seems like this is one of those matchups where the longer it goes, the more it favors the Miracle deck.
yeah, you're really afraid. The trumps here are really they can miracle a large entreat. The game will go long, and you have very few ways to answer that. But you don't want to have wraths in your deck, at this point. Not that actually Joe doesn't actually have any in his 75, but you wouldn't want to have them in if you did. He really has two engineer explosives, excuse me, which you can put in play as an answer to as a preemptive answer to entreat the angels.
Yeah, and it looks like we had Dan attempted a turn 1 Sensei's Divine on top, and then Joe obviously considers that card incredibly powerful, so he pitched the Jace the Mind Sculptor to force a will it. And again, he mulliganed to 6, so it's pretty, he's down to only 3 cards now on turn 1 with Inquisition of Kozilek.
Jeez. And Dan's hand there, Blood Moon going to be back-breaking against Joe's deck.
So it looks like the Inquisition is going to have to take the Blood Moon here, probably.
Yep.
I don't think Joe even has any basics in his deck. He has like 2 islands, basically, a swamp and
he
a
has
plains.
1 swamp, 1 plains, 2 islands. It's kind of the standard basic package for these Esper decks. Joe's going to be all in on this guy's draft, which is going to happen here, because it's immune to those sorts of plowshares. It's also immune to that red elemental blast if it can resolve.
Yeah.
It can still get countered there, but once it's in play, it's immune. And
so do you think he might just try and go for it, saying I mulligan pretty low? Oh no, decides to just go for the Blood Moon there. Not hoping that Dan blanks on lands for 2 turns.
And Joe still has in a Swords to Plowshares, which seems pretty weak against this list. I guess maybe he wants a way to pick off like a Vendilion Click.
Yeah, maybe it's one of those things where he sort of hedged the numbers a little bit.
Sure.
And he just happened to draw 2 of them, but yeah, again, odd that you would see 4 copies in this game post board.
Well, I was actually talking about Joe's hand. So Dan has 2 of them. Joe has 1.
Okay.
So we have it on both sides of the table. Makes sense in Dan's deck because you do want to keep him honest on casting a Stoneforge Mystic. But Joe's only targets are going to be Vendilion Clicks, Vencers, and maybe Entreat the Angels that he fires off a baby one.
Yeah. So we got some brainstorm action here. It looks like Batterskull's going to the bottom and a Vindicate, or to top and a Vindicate. It looked like Dan revealed a counterbalance with the Sensei's Divine on top. Yeah, so there's a counterbalance
and
with Jace and a Plains, so
pretty optimal for Dan. Those are cards he wants to be casting. And he can force one of them through. Obviously, he may have to shuffle one of them away to do that. So I think he might just be patient here and just, shuffling that Jace away.
So, yeah, decides to he wants to try to force it through. And it's interesting here because...
if you're going to do this, why not run it out there and just wait? Maybe, is there no other red mana source? He might have his only red mana source in play.
I believe this deck only plays 1 Volcanic Island.
That's awkward for him.
Yeah, and I've seen similar things where the 1 Volcanic Island has actually been kind of a frustrating situation for some of these players.
Yep.
So it looks like Spell Pierce is coming down. And so Joe knows Dan's hand. He knows he has the Pyroblast. So this is kind of an awkward situation for Dan. Does Dan pull the trigger on the Pyroblast here? Or does he just pay 2 mana and afraid of a second?
You just pay 2 if you're going to do either. Because
he's not going to be afraid of days, probably.
Right. And if he has Forcible or a second, he only has white mana now. So if he has a Forcible either way, he's stopping you.
Yeah.
So why not save your Pyroblast and just spend your 2 mana?
Yeah, and if you Pyroblast here, you can still activate Sensei's Divine top and respond to any with counterbalance once it is in play.
I think if I'm Dan, I would have waited a turn. I would have drawn that Jace.
Yeah, I think you want Jace. You want some action.
And counterbalance, whether it's here on this turn or next turn, doesn't make that big of a difference. Dan's so low on cards.
Wow, and there's Vindicate.
And you would have kept a Pyroblast either way?
Yeah, so now... Oh, so here comes Geist.
She's going to kill him. She's going to try. He says, hey, you gave me the window.
Yeah, and again, Dan does have 3 copies of Terminus here. So, and with Sensei's Divine on top, he can easily set up the Miracle.
First, he gets to try to blind counterbalances. He does not have a lot of 3s in his deck. We saw the Blood Moon already gone.
Vendilion Click,
Probably 2 clicks, and 1 more Blood Moon. Maybe a Jace Balerin.
So there's an Enlightened Tutor.
That will.
He does have Moat in his sideboard as well as Humility, so he has cards that he can go after. So let's see. He draws the Enlightened Tutor. Let's see if he wants the top main phase. Interesting here. Again, I think that it'd be. I'd imagine he probably boards in. You think he boards in the moat in this?
He just found out his sideboard and we saw both the Moat and the Humility in his sideboard.
Wow.
He was checking to see what targets he has available for that Enlightened Tutor.
So without that, he's pretty much all in on the Terminus here. He also has Helm of Obedience probably still in his main deck, but
Certainly.
Again, he still needs the Rest in Peace in order for that combo to.
Well, actually, maybe not, because we saw the Rest in Peace also in his sideboard. He may have boarded that whole package out.
Oh, really?
He might just
maybe
be
even
control
one.
deck.
You don't think he'd even keep in one Rest in Peace?
It's possible
maybe?
his one is the target for for that, because it's also good against Snapcaster Mages.
Yeah. So let's see. Here. A
Spell Snare and a land.
So, not the worst thing, because at least the Detention Sphere can counter the Vindicate. But again, still no answer to the Geisting Strategist yet.
And this is all coming from Dan kind of, I think, pulling the trigger on that counterbalance 1 turn too early. Instead of just passing back, leaving the counterbalance in his hand, leaving up the Pyroblast, and just drawing that Jace. Or even just draw the land that was the 3rd card down. Like, that land would be a pretty fine draw there as well.
Yeah, seemed a little unnecessary because Joe really didn't have anything on his side of the board. Why pull the trigger?
Right.
Why not draw a card like Jace, which is incredibly powerful in this matchup?
Yeah, I think that was just premature. And now we're going to find that the Detention Sphere is going to show up here and save the day for Dan.
So, I believe the Detention Sphere is there, yep. So, and there's the Detention Sphere to counter the Vindicate with the counterbalance.
Yep, and now we're going to move the land back on top, I assume. I think we just want to draw lands.
Or do
here.
we cast Enlightened Tutor? Is there a card that Joe wants to get to try to... Again, it looked like the Humility and the Moat were in the sideboard, but is there something else that he can go for right now?
He's casting it, so we're going to find out. What is his plan here? What is it he wants to have access to?
Oh, the second copy of Blood Moon. That's something.
Still, I mean, if I'm Dan, I'm more worried about finding a way to deal with this Geist. He's not, though. He's calm. He thinks he can deal. He has plenty of time.
The good thing, he has a second plow. So once he plays the Blood Moon, he effectively shuts Joe out of the game because Joe only has 4 basics and he has to draw them. Even a sack land won't get him. So he shuts Joe out. He's only going to be taking 2 next turn because of the plow. So he'll drop himself down to 14. And then he's basically on a 3-turn clock to find a Terminus.
Yep.
So not the worst situation here. I kind of like this play because at least he shuts Joe out of the game and just makes it a one-sided affair. Which does make sense, especially when you have the top sitting there in play. Yeah. You do and draw the planes immediately. Joe did draw the planes though, so a little interesting. Again, not going to stop the Terminus. Still all in the Terminus. There's a Brainstorm, which is good.
Another Swords buying more time now on those Angels.
Yeah. Probably draws the Brainstorm here.
I think you might draw the Island. Just get more mana. Yeah. So with the top in play, it's pretty mana intensive. I think you just want to keep building out your mana base.
Yeah, and he's gonna plow this turn anyway. Snapcaster drawn by Joe, but again, Blood Moon makes it so he can't cast it. Dan drops to 8 after plowing the Angel token. And we get another top activation here. We see
land again.
a plow, top, and just the land was the 3rd card down.
I like this. I think Dan I thought was a little impatient earlier. Here, just biding his time, understands. I like actually getting that Blood Moon. I agree with you completely now. I thought more about it. That it just locked Joe out of the game and just give yourself some time to figure things out.
Another counterbalance. So again, same cards and the counterbalance is the 3rd card deeper. So still know the answer. He's got 1 more turn of plowing, but again, he's going to have to find something because he's going to go to 6 next turn and he has no more Source of Plowshares. So he really needs to find a Terminus here. Jace the Mind Sculptor, that won't even be enough. Another plow maybe, a Vendilion Click. Can at least a Venture Shaper Servant would actually be really good too because you can block the token and bounce the token and block the dice. So a couple of outs still. 3 Terminus, Venture Shaper Servant.
You wonder if he boarded out a Terminus?
Maybe, I don't know.
With the Geist, maybe he can't afford to.
I think with the Geist, he can't really afford to. And Joe has him game 1, so he might have seen him game 1.
Right. Also important to note, Dan does not have 2 white mana, so Entreat the Angel's not going to do anything here. Can't cast it.
Yeah, because the Blood Moon shuts down the Tundra. So just hard cast Batterskull here, which adds in yet another.
So 5. We already know that there's not one.
Yeah. So this is another. Yeah, it's just gonna have to be. We're gonna have to get that Terminus. I don't even think Venser still probably. Venser's still good here, but Batterskull certainly helps.
So I think now we're going to go ahead and activate this. That's at the top right now and see what I mean.
Yeah, might as well see what the bottom card is. We know there's at least a counterbalance on top, so it decides to brainstorm. Unfortunately, the Blood Moon turns off any sack lands, so.
And there it is.
Just 3 lands. I believe he can top again, and he'll see 1 card deeper.
1 card deeper, it's true.
So it's still a chance, small chance, but still a chance. Unfortunately, he doesn't have double blue now, so Venser is no longer an out, or at least buy him a turn. Draws. Just a Force of Will. Unfortunately, not going to do it. No Terminus there. Looks like Joe's going to win this game. Yep, Joe wins.
Takes the match.
Takes the match, wins 2-0. Again, maybe a little hasty there with the counterbalance. Probably could afford to wait a turn. If he waits a turn, he has mana to Pyroblast the Geist.
Right.
Then he draws a Jace the Mind Sculptor and plays a counterbalance with plenty of mana to activate too.
Yep.
So his Sensei Divine Top. So obviously in a much better position there, but.
And while counterbalance is certainly good in this matchup, it's not as backbreaking as against combo decks. You don't need to get it in play quite as fast.
Yeah.
And he had to expend a lot of resources. He had to waste 2 shuffle effects at the top in play. That's very costly.
Yeah. And the thing is,